The Last Thanksgiving is a 2020 film written and directed by Erick Lorinc, and this is not a bad film, but I feel like there are a few areas where there's definitely room for improvement. It's about a bunch of people who gather together for Thanksgiving, and, well, IMDb describes them as cannibalistic pilgrims. There are people wearing kind of traditional pilgrim hats and things who are going after these people, but why are they doing this? Well, I'm not going to say, but that's part of the narrative that I thought was reasonably well written. I was very curious to find out why they were doing this and why they were causing such chaos, and we do get that information eventually, and I was rather happy with that description, that explanation. So the story in general is interesting, but it doesn't feel very Thanksgiving-y. And I'm saying this as a British person. I've never celebrated Thanksgiving, so my opinion probably doesn't mean a lot here. But nevertheless, Thanksgiving has a certain vibe. And if I were to pause this film at any point and just show you a freeze frame and said, or asked you, which holiday is this depicting? What day of the year is this set on? At no point, unless we were looking at the costumes of the killers, at no point would you say Thanksgiving. I definitely feel like they should have made more of an effort to make it feel Thanksgiving-y. Yes, some of the costumes, but they're not even on screen that much, so I don't think it had the right vibe. I don't think it had the right feeling. This could have taken place any time of the year, apart from a few key moments, so that was a bit disappointing. And I feel like the narrative itself is quite slow in a lot of places as well, but the good bits are very good. We have quite a gory aspect to the film, and it made me gag at one point. And I have a really strong stomach when it comes to gory horror films. Usually it takes quite a lot to disturb me, but there was one moment that kind of made me retch, and I will at the end mention what that specific moment was. It's not really a spoiler, but I don't want to give away anything just in case you decide to watch it. And I guess I recommend it. The story is interesting, but it's a little slow in places. The characters are fine, most of the performances are fine. I think they could have made a bit more of an effort to make it feel Thanksgiving-y, because apart from a few costumes that we see a few times, it doesn't really look very Thanksgiving-y. But I did like the concept, and it is a watchable film. It's not terrible. If it sounds like something that might appeal to you, then I'd say, yeah, it's maybe worth watching. Definitely room for improvement, but ultimately, it's an interesting concept. It's quite gory in places, which I quite liked, and some of the costumes look okay. So, all things considered, The Last Thanksgiving is not a terrible film. Definitely not as good as it could be, but I didn't mind it, and ultimately, I'm happy enough to recommend it. I completely forgot to mention the bit that I was going to mention. So this is a tiny spoiler for something that happens, I think, quite early on in the film. I can't remember exactly when, but it did make me feel sick. Somebody plunges a whisk into somebody's eye, and he then proceeded to eat it off of the whisk. A very disgusting version of licking the batter after beating a cake. Not not delightful, but I really enjoyed it nevertheless. And it made me genuinely retch, and I think that might have been the only moment where I felt physically sick, because as I said, having watched a lot of horror, I do have quite a strong stomach for that kind of thing, but I was impressed. It made me feel sick, and I rather liked it. So definitely some good moments, and ultimately, it's not a bad film.